Right, this is Mark Ireland. I'm 34 years old. The time is 12:30. I'm married with 3 children. The picture that you see at the back of me is when I was bald and I shaved my head. And I'm married to this lovely lady here, from Ireland. We're married at a register office. Funnily enough, we were supposed to go out for a main meal, as many honeymooners do, and go on their favourite holiday, but I never got a chance to do that. Nor did Cam. We went for a McDonald's after that and spent the night honeymooning in my brother's empty flat on the Dunkeld Road in Perth. Wasn't the greatest, but I'm just glad that I'm married to Cam, and since then I got 2 beautiful children who are lying through the room in the next room. They're 20 months old, they're twin girls, absolutely gorgeous. I was blessed with them the day they were born, which was the 11th of the 1st, 2012. Well, my story is that 2008, September the 9th, 2008 to be precise, I was taken into hospital with acute severe pancreatitis. Now, of course, I never knew this at the time. I'd had, I was being sick, diarrhea and so forth. I got to a stage where I couldn't cope anymore, so I decided to phone an ambulance, to which it responded within a 10-minute period. Now, they were used to me because I was constantly forever calling them out because I was, addicted to going to hospital. I was getting attention in some sort of way. I have, I don't know if you can see in the picture there, but I have scars where I've been cut. I used to cut myself, and this was due to the fact that the drink would spur me on, and I'd cut myself. So, to all those who drink, let this be an experience to you. I've tried in other ways to try and get it out to other people, but unfortunately, this is not the case. And, I've tried through TV shows like Jeremy Kyle, which is kind of a bit stupid, probably. But for years and years, since I was about 12 years old, I started dabbling in drink. By the time I got to 16, I was into drugs and fully on the alcohol. Going through them years, I stayed in numerous homeless units, spent time in the T Hotel, which is in Dundee, which is now derelict, as most of you will probably be aware if you're looking at this from Dundee. It wasn't a great life, to put it that way. I mean, I was stuck on alcohol. I used to drink diesel, which, of course, some of you might know would be alcohol consisting of lager, vodka, and cider. And it used to be a pint at that time in the Tea Hotel, and it was great sometimes to drink it, within reason, of course, but I took it too far and drank it on a regular basis every day, more or less, because it was basically the only thing I can do. I couldn't find a job. Nobody would be entertained in me, or they thought, well, down and out, I mean, don't want anything to do with them. So here I am 5 years later. But as I said, in September 2008, I was in Temporary's yard in Cooperangus. I felt desperately and horribly ill. I mentioned this to Karen. Karen had got to a point where she thought, because of all these things that had happened to me, that this was just another phase that I was going through with the alcohol, and that he wanted more attention by going to the hospital. But this time it wasn't to be, and I ended up in hospital in Ward 10, I think it was, in Ninemouth Hospital, whereby Karen came along with me in the ambulance, or came along later. She sat at the bottom of my bed in Ward 10. I knew there was something wrong there. My stomach didn't feel right. I was getting bloated at that point, and my breathing became shallow. I started to feel this, but I didn't really want Karen to know that this was what was happening, so I asked her to go home so she wouldn't see this happening to me. So on that particular day, she went home, and that particular night it got worse, and they transferred me down to the HDU, which is the high dependency unit. But there on in, high dependency unit couldn't handle me, so they sent me down to the intensive care unit, Nameless Hospital. With, by first I'll put the nursing staff there, as well as the doctors, were absolutely brilliant. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them, and especially a shout to Christoph Cooley, or Dr. Christoph Cooley, best pancreatic surgeon, to exist. And obviously I'm saying that because I'm still here today, talking this rubbish on YouTube. And yes, I don't have any teeth. I lost them in a skateboard accident, that's another story. Anyway, I was in ICU for 3 months. Whilst in ICU, I was put in an induced coma because the pain was unbearable. I went through quite serious surgery where I had my pancreas removed, which meant that it would give me diabetes type 1. I'm insulin based now. I have neuropathy in my legs with lying in bed as long as I did, which was 3 months. I wasn't the greatest. I was on every hookup to every monitor, screen, and tubes and so forth. In the pancreas area myself, my liver, my kidneys. I was getting kidney dialysis. I also had a trachea there in my system, or in my neck, should I say. I don't know what that was for, to help me breathe or something like that. As I stood at that time, I began to get better. I woke after 2.5 months of being in an induced coma, and after the surgery of removing my pancreas, which was turned to mush. Thankfully, Dr. Christoph Cooley managed to remove all of it. I think there's just a slight part left. This produces just a slight bit of insulin, but not enough to sustain a normal way of life for me, so therefore I'm insulin based. Now, I was transferred to Ward 11, where I remained for 6 months. I had 6 tubes, 3 tubes on either side of me, to drain out any poison that was in my system. Unfortunately, in one of the tubes I had contracted MRSA, to which I was given toothpaste and mouthwash and things like that to kind of compensate and take away this bacterial stuff, and so it wouldn't affect anybody else. I was also segregated to stay away from people that might contract it or have bad or serious infections. The nursing staff there were absolutely excellent, and I would never wish this sort of thing that I went through in my life on anyone else. It was a horrible experience. It must have been even horribler for Cam, who's now my beautiful wife, who I have 3 lovely children, one of which doesn't stay with us but stays with Cam's mother and father because of obviously alcohol issues which I had previous to 2008. But that again is another story. After Nameless Hospital, at the 6 months, I was transferred to Octorado, where I remained for a further 6 months. And this was to get my legs used to walking again. I had to learn my body. It was like a baby being born. I had to learn my body how to move, how to walk, mostly how to talk too, because of the trachea or tracheoscopy, coscopy as they call it in hospital. I got to a point where after the 6 months I decided that I wanted to go home and spend time with Cam, and Cam wanted me home too. She stayed at 29 Robertson's Buildings at that time, which was in Barrack Street in Perth, so I moved there. And I was using a Zimmer frame at the time, and funnily enough, she stayed on the top floor, which was absolutely a nightmare. So I had a bum shuffle all the way up because I couldn't walk. I was very scared to hold on to the walls in case I'd fall down the stairs again, so I had to bum shuffle all the way up 3 flights of stairs to get to the house. Eventually we got a temporary house at 148 Lanark Road, which is in Latham and Perth, to which we'd moved to, which was a hell of a lot easier. We then, through OT help, moved on and progressed with my Webcam. I'm now at 73A Edinburgh Road after obviously a second move from, or a fourth move should I say, from 140 Rannoch Road, which was a temporary house, to 11A Balgowan Road. Unfortunately we had rowdy neighbours up the stairs, and that certainly wasn't the case, because obviously the girls were born at that point and they were only a few days old when we were offered this house at 73A Edinburgh Road, to which I sit in bed at home at 73A Edinburgh Road. But my point is, and the whole point of this YouTube video is, to those never to drink, because I drank for a long period of time, and you never know what's going to be around the corner. And to me, my pancreas got worse and worse and worse. Now, to other people, man, it can happen in different ways. It can happen to your pancreas, it can happen to your kidneys, it can happen to your liver. It happened to me in the pancreas department, and it nearly killed me. I was seconds from death. I was even told that by the doctors and the nurses, but here I am 5 years later, telling my story to yourselves. And you know, I wanted to let it out to other people that it's not the best way forward. It's not the best thing to continue with. It ruins lives, it ruins family life. You don't get anything, you don't get any benefit from it apart from feeling great and feeling a high, just like a drug intake, you know, at night or whenever it is that you're drinking during that day. But when you wake up in the morning, you feel the same, and you're having to compensate by drinking even more, or taking even more drugs. If in the respect of those who do take drugs, they enjoy that, and it's the same difference. So my advice to them would be to clamp it before it takes your life, or you're like me sitting here blathering about the situation that has bothered me for 5 years, and thankfully I'm able to sit here and kind of get it off my chest, and I'm hoping that it'll maybe help someone out there who has been through the same sort of thing that I've been through. I'm not going to continue with any more of what I've stated. I think I've said enough. I just hope that those that have a problem can look at this and understand what it is I've went through. If I'd taken pictures, I would have let you see them, because honestly it was a very, very horrible thing. It was certainly something I never wanted my wife Karen to go through. She saw some really horrible things. She went through some really horrible times when I was drinking, and to all those who have a drinking partner or a drinking husband or a drinking boyfriend, and vice versa, whether it's a wife, a girlfriend, or a fiance, you know, it must be very hard for you. But all I can say is try your best. Never give up hope, and never give up hope with that person. Always love that person as much as you possibly can, and trust me, one day they will realise that what they're doing to themselves will either kill them or it will take away what's mostly loving in their life, which is yourself. And 5 years down the line, October the 5th, as I believe it today, I have been 5 years, 1 week and 2 days off of alcohol. That's me. That's my story. I don't have any more to add to that. But I just hope that it helps someone out there. And all the best to anybody who takes on this video and applies it to themselves. Okay? Cheers.